They're saying they will do it, but they're saying that, oh, I can't do it. This is such a, do you know, I've got a strange feeling that all cars are going to become that way, which is worrying for us.
What you're about to hear is not a car story. It's a war between a guy from Leicester, England, no factory training, no official certification, no corporate backing, and one of the most powerful automotive brands on the planet. And here's the part that will shock you. He won. Not just won. He rebuilt a $6 million hypercar so perfectly that the very engineers who said it was impossible were left standing there, mouths open, speechless. This is the story of Matt Armstrong, the Bugatti Chiron Purse Sport, and a rebuild that shook the entire automotive world. Let's go back to October 2025. Matt Armstrong is sitting in his workshop in the UK, scrolling through the internet like any normal day. And then he sees it, a listing. A wrecked Bugatti Chiron Purse Sport. Not just any Bugatti, the Purse Sport, one of only 60 ever made. And it's sitting in Miami, smashed up, written off, and heading for a Copart salvage auction. Now, Matt has rebuilt crashed Lamborghinis. He's brought back McLarens. He's turned total write-offs into stunning road cars. But this was something else entirely. This wasn't just a damaged supercar. This was potentially the most complex, most exclusive, most irreplaceable machine he had ever laid eyes on. And what did Matt do? He booked a flight that same day, because that's the kind of man he is. The car belonged to Alex Gonzalez, a Miami-based content creator who had crashed it during a stunt. The front end was absolutely destroyed. Crumpled carbon fiber, deployed airbags, shattered panels. The iconic Bugatti horseshoe grille, gone. An expert flew in from Paris, took one look at it, and declared it a total loss. Insurance quoted $1.7 million to repair it. Alex turned that down. And so the car ended up at Copart with a salvage title and a locked VIN. But here's what nobody tells you. Alex didn't just walk away. He bought it back from the auction for around $1.9 million after fees. And then he called Matt Armstrong and said 4 words that would change everything. Can you fix it? Matt said yes. Of course he said yes. But what neither of them fully understood in that moment was the massive wall they were about to walk straight into. Because Bugatti, the manufacturer, the brand, the company in Motium, France, had already made their decision. They had locked the VIN. Every single Bugatti dealership on the face of this planet was now blocked from selling any parts for the specific car. Every one. The VIN was blacklisted globally. You want a headlight? Sorry. A hood? No. The iconic grille? Absolutely not. Bugatti had essentially declared this car dead, and they wanted it to stay that way. Now you might be wondering, why would a company do that? Why would Bugatti, one of the most prestigious automotive brands in history, refuse to let someone save their own car? The answer, at first glance, sounds reasonable. The Chiron Purse Sport has a carbon fiber monocoque chassis, a single structural piece that forms the entire spine and safety cell of the vehicle. If that monocoque is compromised in a crash, Bugatti's position is clear. They will not certify repairs. They cannot guarantee the structural integrity. And in a car that does 0 to 60 in under 2.4 seconds and tops out at over 217 miles per hour, structural integrity isn't optional. It's life or death. So Bugatti drew a line in the sand, and they made sure everyone knew it. But then, the CEO himself stepped in, Mate Rimac, the man who runs both Rimac and Bugatti. He didn't just issue a press release. He went directly to social media and addressed the situation personally. He said the gearbox housing had shattered. He said the monocoque had taken structural damage. He warned that shortcuts on a machine this complex could have catastrophic consequences. And then he said something that set the internet absolutely on fire. He claimed that splitting the chassis of the Chiron, a necessary step to even access the transmission, could only be done in 2 places in the entire world. 2 official Bugatti facilities with specialist equipment. And the implication was clear. Matt Armstrong's workshop was not one of them. The internet exploded. Comment sections, forums, YouTube videos. Everyone had an opinion. Some people sided with Bugatti. Of course, a manufacturer should protect their legacy. Of course, safety matters on a 1,500 horsepower machine. But millions of others sided with Matt Because here's the thing about Matt Armstrong that those people understood immediately. This man does not back down. He never has. And when the CEO of Bugatti tells you it can't be done, that, for Matt Armstrong, is basically an invitation. Matt's response was calm, measured, but make no mistake, it was a declaration. Of course, he said, we're not going to be able to do it to Bugatti's factory standards. But again, we're going to give it a go. Simple, quiet, and absolutely terrifying for Bugatti, because Matt Armstrong giving something a go usually means it gets done. But here's what nobody knew at this point. The real challenge wasn't the carbon fiber. It wasn't the airbags or the headlights or the hood. The real nightmare, the thing that would define this entire rebuild, was the transmission, the gearbox. On a Bugatti Chiron Per Sport, the powertrain is not just bolted together. It is a fully integrated, modular engineering masterpiece. The W16 engine, that 16 cylinders arranged in a W configuration for turbochargers, producing over 1,500 horsepower, sits between two structural frames. The front tub is a carbon fiber monocoque. The rear is the drivetrain frame. And to access the transmission, you have to split them apart. You have to physically separate the two halves of the car. And mate Rimac had just told the world that doing this required equipment available at only two places on Earth. Matt drove to his private workshop in England. He called his father. And together, just the two of them, they started planning. Because Matt Armstrong had already spotted something that Bugatti either didn't think anyone would notice, or genuinely didn't expect anyone to attempt. The Chiron, for all its complexity, is built on a fundamentally modular design. It's held together by bolts, accessible bolts, not some fusion of exotic materials requiring million-pound factory presses. Bolts, so they started removing them. Battery terminals, coolant lines, electrical looms, fuel lines, one by one, working through the architecture of this $6 million machine with nothing more than workshop tools and sheer determination. And then came the moment that would go viral, the moment that made Bugatti engineers' jaws drop when they saw the footage. Matt Armstrong needed to physically lift and separate the two halves of the Bugatti Chiron Per Sport. He didn't have a $2 million Bugatti chassis splitting rig. He didn't have their specialist equipment. What he had was a standard two-post lift, some scrap workshop materials, and the wheelbase from a garbage can, a literal workshop rubbish bin. He fabricated a makeshift rolling support using that bin base and additional scrap, slid it under the drivetrain frame, and with what he called gentle persuasion, the front tub of the Chiron Per Sport separated from the rear drivetrain frame, right there in a private UK workshop, with a rubbish bin and a two-post lift, proving that what Bugatti said required two specialist facilities in the entire world could be done by one man and his dad with garage equipment. But the moment of triumph was immediately followed by dread, because when those two have separated, the full extent of the damage was finally brutally visible. The crash had driven the engine forward. The forces of the impact had pushed the massive W16 block forward into surrounding structure, crushing a coolant pipe, denting surrounding areas, and snapping the engine mount support bracket, the cast aluminium brace that connect the engine to the gearbox, specifically designed to be a sacrificial component, engineered to break in a crash to redirect destructive energy away from the main structure, was shattered. And here's where it gets truly jaw-dropping. That bracket, it costs an astronomical amount to replace from the factory, and Bugatti wasn't selling it. So Matt Armstrong did something that most professional engineers would say was flatly impossible. He sent it to a specialist, and they TIG welded it back together, a component specifically designed to fail. Rebuilt using precision welding, and it held. Now here's where the story takes another massive turn, because Matt Armstrong had also been exploring what to do about the parts Bugatti absolutely refused to supply. He knew he couldn't wait forever. So he called in his engineering team, and they did something revolutionary. They 3D scanned the damaged components. They converted the scan data into CAD models, computer-aided design files, the same kind manufacturers used to build parts in the first place. And then they had replacement components CNC machined, precisely from raw material, custom parts, engineered from scratch, designed to specification, built better than the originals. When Bugatti heard about this plan, mate Rimac himself came out publicly to refute it. He said 3D printed parts on machine like this were dangerous. But here's what Rimac may not have fully appreciated. Matt wasn't talking about plastic 3D printing. He was talking about precision CNC machining from proper engineering-grade materials. And those parts, they worked. But the pressure was still building, because now Bugatti was watching. Mate Rimac was watching. The automotive world was watching. And at some point, Rimac made a decision. Rather than continue opposing the project publicly, he reached out. He opened a door. Bugatti eventually lifted the parts blacklist. They reduced their repair estimates. They said they would support the project. And in one of the most shocking reversals in recent automotive history, the same company that had blocked every parts channel globally was now quietly letting this happen. Why? Because Matt Armstrong had already proven the point. He'd already split the car. He'd already rebuilt the gearbox mount. He'd already sourced airbags, not from Bugatti, but from an Audi A3, which turned out to be fully compatible with the Chiron's airbag system. He'd custom-built radiators to replace the destroyed ones. And remember, the Chiron per sport has 10 radiators. Not 1, 10. Matt's team built custom versions. All of them. And Valvetronic, one of the world's leading custom exhaust specialists, had fabricated a completely bespoke exhaust system for the car after 3D scanning the original. The interior had been rebuilt. The carbon panels were repaired. The iconic horseshoe grille was sourced and refitted. The wings, the hood, the headlights, piece by piece, panel by panel, this car was coming back to life. And then came the day that the entire internet had been waiting for. The day Matt Armstrong and his team reconnected everything. The coolant systems, the fuel lines, the intercooler circuits, the ECU, the car's brain, the electronic control unit that manages every aspect of the Chiron's performance. They bolted the two halves back together with 14 titanium bolts. 14 titanium bolts. And then they hit start. There was a moment, just a brief moment, of absolute silence. The kind of silence where you're not breathing.